This year, the Human-Powered Vehicle World Championship is held in England. I am taking the Velocraft Nocom. The Nocom is equipped with a vintage Zip carbon disc wheel, Continental Supersonic and Schwalbe Pro 1 tires. It will probably be much slower than quite a few Velomobiles and Streamliners, slower than the Burke Peregrine Streamliner, or even the Alpha 7 Velomobile right here. There is no hill this year, so they will be unbeatable. I did not film the first 3 events, so we start with the 1 hour plus 1 lap slow race. I was surprised to see number 568, Johan Farver on his M5 low racer in the slow race. Arnold Nicholas in his lap-to-back iRacer is having the fastest start. The field is mainly composed of trikes, two-wheel unfaired recumbents and cycles, pedal cars, tricycles, tandem bikes and upright bikes. The qualification for the 1 hour race was based on the 100-meter sprint. As expected, after the first lap, Johan Farver on his M5 low racer has taken the lead. Arnold Nickfoot on his lap-to-bike iRacer is in second place, followed by Steve March on his carbon and cycle. Dave Milter on his tricycle is fourth, closely followed by Camille Raymond on his Performer Conquer and Miriam Eiserman on her Socra TD. Mark Henley on his NASCAR Fiero is sixth. Geoff Booker on his trike is ahead of Peter Hodgson on his prototype trike. Mark Robson on his Catrack Expedition is ahead of Nigel Lee on his ICE PTX trike. Robert Glenn is riding a Brompton folding bike. That's not exactly a fast bike. The riders are already spread out over huge distances. The lap is around 2 kilometers. Here we have Nick Curtis on his Long Rider bike. And we say hello to Kim Kimura on her ice trike. The tandem bike looks fun, except for the person at the back who has to sit on the saddle. Johan Farver on his M5 low racer is completely dominating that race. Arnold Lickfoot on his Raptor bike and Steve March on his carbon on-cycle are battling for the second place. Miriam Hazerman on her Zocra bike is fourth, followed by Camille Raymond on his Performer Conquer bike. The Performer is a bike I know well, as I raced with it in 2017. It is really fast, but really not as fast as the iRacer. The nice thing is that it folds, so you can potentially take it on the plane in normal size luggages. There is still a small peloton of pedal cars and trikes. Even though they have a fairing, the pedal cars are slower than the Velomobile, but they have 4 wheels which can help in sharp turns. That does not help today as there is no sharp turn. Geoff Surley is riding a Burroughs Rat Catcher. It is equipped with a single-sided fork and a small front wheel, as well as a rear box to carry luggages. That rear box makes it more aerodynamic. Dave Tomlinson is riding a rowing bike. Johan Farver is still far ahead, as he is nearly 6 km per hour faster than everybody else. He would have been in the top 10 in the medium race. I think the qualification would have been based on the 1 lap time trials that should have happened the day before. But it was cancelled, as Marco Ruger crashed at high speed in his Streamliner. So he collided with some competitors waiting for their turn on the side of the track. Thais LeBron was the most affected, as her Zocra low racer bike was broken and she went to the hospital for some checkup. So in the end, the flying 100 meter was used as a qualifying for that race, which is a big disadvantage for people not very good at sprinting. I'm actually lucky they did not use the 100 meter standing start, as I did not perform very well there. The race gets less interesting when your main competitors are in a different race. This year, it was better to work on the sprinting power and start, even if it meant losing a few places in the 1 hour and 3 hour races. The 100-meter standing start has the same number of championship points as the 3-hour race. Same thing for the flying 100-meter and the one-lap time trial. My knock-on low racer was quite wobbly at the start, so I think I would have been faster just running the 100-meter. Or maybe that should be done like a pole vaulting competition, where you have more than one try, as it is easy to make a mistake. But that's not going to happen, as there are too many competitors to do this. Here is another forward drive bike, the Toxi ZR. Arnold Lickfoot on his Raptorbike iRacer is in second place. Steve Marsh on his Carbon Uncycle is still in third place. The difference in speed between riders are too big to have a real race, so it is mostly like a time trial. Majesty on his Ice Strike VTX is going to overtake a slower rider. He has got the advantage of having a more aerodynamic trike. The aerodynamic of the bike matters a lot as it is reasonably flat, so we end up having different categories. But even in the same category, the difference in speed between bikes can be huge. It is quite unfair to have a Raptorbike iRacer against an upright folding bike. Johan Farber on his M5 Low Racer is lapping everybody else. He is more powerful and he has a faster bike. Steve March on his Carbon Uncycle is lapping pretty much everybody as well. That's quite impressive, as pedaling with one's arm is quite a bit harder, and he is third in a field of 40 riders. Here is Ulrich Benninghofen riding a Batchetter carbon trike. Here is Elodie Bertrand riding the Metabike Metaphysique. Metabike used to produce nice bikes like the Metabike Metaphysique Carbon, but Metabike was sold to a new owner and they stopped making advanced carbon bikes. Arnold Lickfoot on his Raptorbike is still in second place, and Steve March in his Carbon Uncycle is in third place. Johan Farber on his M5 Low Racer is completely dominating the race. He would have the time to stop and have a coffee and still be ahead. Miriam Eiserman on her Zokra TV iRacer is in fourth place. It is more or less a custom carbon bike that was never a production bike like its Zokra iRacer sibling. It is a direct front-wheel drive bike like the cruise bike that won the unfair category last year. Johan Farber on his M5 Low Racer is still far ahead. I think M5 has stopped producing bikes as the owner has retired, so correct me if I am wrong. Now there are really only two wheels performance recommended bikes that are in production. The Slyway Ultra iRacer that I have been riding in other races, and the cruise bike Vendetta V20 that won the unfair category last year. All the other performance bikes are either custom bikes or bikes that are no longer produced, like the Zokra, the M5 iRacer or the Tortec iRacer. The difference in speed between one of those performance bikes and one of the heavy touring bikes is like night and days. We are approaching the end of the race as it is the last lap. Johan Farber on his M5 Low Racer has won the race. Steve March on his Carbon Uncycle has taken the third place. Now is the time for the medium race. Jem Coxon on his Phantom trike on the right is one of the favorites. He is a multiple record holder. I think he has the trike 1 hour record and 100 km record. That trike look at least as aerodynamic as the Velocraft Nocon I am using in this event, but there are quite a few Velomobiles. You can also see Andy Gerbert on his red Bird Comet recumbent in the middle, so he is not guaranteed to win. The Velomobiles have a huge advantage on a flat course like this. After the first lap, David Kirkham on his Phantom trike is ahead. He's followed by Philip Schmaltz on his Velocraft VK2, and Tim Corbett on his Phantom trike in third place. Patrick Dutot on his Milan SL Velomobile is in fourth place. They are followed by a mixed group of Velomobiles and Recovan trike. Here is a Quattro Velo Velomobile. That's supposed to be a touring Velomobile, but it looks very fast. The top riders are far less spread out than in the slow race. David Kirkham on his Phantom trike is still leading the race, but Arjen Meurs in his DF XL Velomobile is catching up with him. Patrick Dutot in his Milan SL Velomobile is in third place. Andrea Hammerle in his DF Velomobile is in fourth place. Andy Gerbert on his Bird Comet recumbent is behind them. Sebastian Levin on his M5 iRacer is ahead of Olivier Cresson on his local bike. Edgy in his Quattro Velo Velomobile is slowly gaining time. Bernd Kanziger in his Alpha M9 Velomobile is quite a long way behind. This is Mathieu Lerouet on his Ice VTX trike. He won the 100-meter standing start and is a former trike world champion. Kim Wall on her Optima Baron Low Racer is leading a group of low racers, and Geoffroy-Henri Leliev on their unusual back-to-back tandem. They are followed by Andy Foray in his Streamliner. Arjen Meurs in his DF Velomobile is now dominating the race. Probably should have been in the fast race, as he is 5 km/h faster than everybody else. And here is another back-to-back tandem, followed by a group of trike, including Thijs Leborg on a borrowed Ice VTX, as their Zocra bike was destroyed by Marco Ruger on the first day as he crashed into her. David Kirkham on his Phantom trike is currently in second place, ahead of Andrea Hammerle in his DF Velomobile. He has just lapped Rudy Cruz on his Challenge Fusion. Patrick Dutot and Tim McDonald in their Milan Velomobile are battling for the 7th place. Andy Gerbert on his Bird Comet recumbent is right behind Tim Corbett on his Phantom trike. Is right behind Philip Schmaltz on his Velocraft VK2 is not far behind. Here is Derek Twiddle in his Yellow Donkey Streamliner, ahead of Edgy Quattro Velo Velomobile. Yannick Gilbert in his Snoke Velomobile is ahead of Sebastian Levin and Olivier Cresson. Patrick Hageman is riding his iTrike race trike. This is Bernd Kanziger in his Alpha M9 Velomobile. Arjen Meurs in his yellow and black EF Velomobile is lapping a big group of riders. The back-to-back tandem is riding in a small group, including Kim Wall on her Red Baron Low Racer, and led by Daniel Lehmann, riding a Carbon iRacer. James Coxon on his Phantom trike is comfortably in second place. He would not have been out of place in the fast race, as he is actually faster than me. Arjen Meurs in his DF Velomobile is still dominating the race. Patrick Dutot in his Milan SL Velomobile is 3 places behind, ahead of Tim McDonald in his Milan SL Velomobile and Andy Gerbert. This is Jeff Bird in his Vulcan Velomobile. It is a homemade Velomobile. James Coxon on his Phantom trike is still in second place. That trike is surprisingly fast. Matthew Lowry on his Ice VTX is still leading a small group of riders. That's rather surprising, as he is more a sprinter than a pace setter. Arjun Merce in his DF XL is still dominating the race. Patrick Duto in his Milan SL Velomobile is in 4th place. Tim McDonald in his Milan SL Velomobile has actually overtaken Andy Gerbert on his Raid per Comet recumbent. AG in his Quattro Velo Velomobile is still catching up with the top 5 riders. The group of riders led by Kim Wall on her Optima Beholder Racers seems to be working together as the riders are taking turns at the lead. That's obviously the best strategy to go faster. It could be beneficial here as the riders are in 4 different categories. There is 1 trophy for each category. James Coxon on his Phantom trike is still in 2nd place as he has lapped Philip Schmalz. They are both going to be lapped by Arjun Merce in his DF XL Velomobile. Shane Gilbert's Snug Velomobile has a fin like a shark. Maybe it is to improve the stability. The Quattro Velomobile here is probably the most stable as it has 4 wheels. Andy Foray on his Homage Streamliner is riding ahead of Lee Carney on his SVTX trike. Martin Horuck is riding a M5 Carbon iRacer. The back-to-back recommend tandem can actually turn. Arjun Merce in his yellow DF XL Velomobile is still overtaking everybody. He's going at nearly 52 km per hour. James Coxon on his Phantom trike is going at nearly 47 km per hour. Sebastian Lewin on his M5 Carbon iRacer is ahead of Olivier Cresson on his so-called iRacer. They are fighting for a top 10 place. Here, the white Bolt Velomobile is overtaking Yannick Gilbert in his Snug Velomobile. We are approaching towards the end of the race. Matthew Lowris on his Ice trike is quite a long way behind. He is the 2018 Multitrack World Championship winner. That's lucky, he's probably the strongest in sprints. AG in his Quattro Velo Velomobile is in 4th place. James Coxon on his Phantom trike is in 2nd place. Patrick Duto in his Milan SL Velomobile is in 6th place. Felix Schmalz on his Velocraft VK2 Velomobile is in 10th place. Simon Watson in his Bob Streamliner is towards the back. I would say he is not as fast as usual. Arjun Merce in his yellow DF XL Velomobile is still a long way ahead. And this is the last lap. Sebastian Lewin on his M5 Carbon iRacer is in 11th place. Here is Heiner Baumann in his Quest Velomobile. James Coxon on his Phantom trike is lapping people. Derek Tudor in his yellow Donkey Streamliner is in 12th place. Julien Castello on his Performer iRacer is ahead of François Fournier on his Pelso Brevet and Olivier Cresson on his Sokol. Easter and Tim Parker are on a back-to-back tandem trike. Tim Corbett on his Phantom trike is in 9th place. Jerry Charlwood is in a fully faired King Cycle Wasp, followed by Patrick Duto. Andy Foray in his case Streamliner is leading a group of 4 riders. Ben Dickinson on his Ice trike is a long way back. Arjun Merce in his DF XL Velomobile has won the race. Now is the time for the fast race. Unfortunately, I have not taken any camera on the bike, so the quality won't be very good. You can see that the Velomobiles are a majority. The unfaired bikes are squeezed on the right side. The start of this kind of race is very stressful as I don't want to collide with anybody at the start. At the same time, I don't want to be dropped after the first lap. A group of Velomobiles ahead, including Björn Lehmann in his Snug Velomobile. We can't really see who is who from where we are. We are just going to follow the race of the unfaired bikes. Marvin Tunner on his Troytech time trial is leading the unfair category. Christophe Windlis-Barre in his White Bird Comet Peregrine Streamliner is the favorite. As far as I am concerned, I am riding the Nocom Low Racer, and I have already lost a lot of time. The Velomobiles are averaging around 58 km per hour. That's 12 km per hour faster than me. Christophe Windlis-Barre in his Burke Peregrine Streamliner and Slash in his Beano Streamliner are racing against each other. Marvin Tunner on his Troytech time trial iRacer is still leading the unfaired category, followed by Michael Hamann on his Burke Comet and Melker on his M5 Carbon iRacer. I'm actually chased by Sandro Bolina on his Burke Comet and Pierre Goujon on his Zocra iRacer. A group of 3 iRacers led by Riven Leverne on his custom Zocra iRacer is catching up. I'm a long way back on my Nocom Low Racer. I have somehow gained time over Sandro Bolina on his Burke Comet recumbent and Pierre Goujon on his Zocra iRacer. Slash in the Beano Streamliner is leading the race, ahead of Christophe Windlis-Barre in his Burke Peregrine Streamliner. Marvin Tunner on his Troytech time trial is leading a group of 6 riders, including Melker on his M5 iRacer, Slash in the Beano Streamliner and Christophe Windlis-Barre. Burke Peregrine Streamliner look like they have taken the lead of the race. Here, Russellbridge in his orange Streamliner has lapped Sandro Bolina on his Burke Comet and Pierre Goujon on his Zocra bike. They are still chasing me. Melker on his M5 Carbon iRacer is at the front of the leading group of unfaired bikes. I'm still on my own behind them. Not being in a group slows me down quite a bit. So Sandro Bolina on his Burke Comet and Pierre Goujon on his Zocra iRacer are slowly coming back at me. It looks like Marvin Tunner has launched an attack as the group is more spread out. That's it, Sandro Bolina on his Burke Comet has caught up with me with Pierre Goujon in his wheel, and we are going to be lapped again by Christophe Windlis-Barre in his Burke Peregrine Streamliner. He seems to have dropped Slash and he is leading the race. The leading group of unfair recumbents is still together. None of the attacks seems to have been successful. As for me, I am still following the 2 riders that have overtaken me, and the leading group of unfair bike has come back together. They are not slowing down. Still with the same group of riders led by Sandro Bolina on his Burke Comet recumbent. Marvin Tunner on his Troytech time trial is on the attack again. The leading group of unfair riders has been blown apart. As for me, on my Nocom Low Racer, I have gained a sizable lead over Sandro Bolina on his Burke Comet and Pierre Goujon on his Zocra, but I am just testing the water. The group led by Marvin Tunner on his Troytech time trial is now split into pairs of riders. It looks like Riven Leborn on Zocra bike has been dropped. He is now about 6 or 7 seconds behind. The leading group of unfair riders has come back together once again. And I am leading the second group of unfair riders. Marvin Tunner on his Troytech iRacer is on the attack again. Volkert Niemeyer on his M5 Carbon iRacer is leading the chase group. Riven Leborn on his Zocra is on his own and is losing time. Marvin on the Troytech time trial lapped me on my group, and I tried to follow him for some time to gain time over Pierre Goujon on his Zocra iRacer. It looks like I only gained 8 seconds. The group led by Melker on his M5 Carbon iRacer is going to lap Sandro Bolina on his Burke Comet and Pierre Goujon on his Zocra. Riven Leborn on his special Zocra iRacer is still losing time. Marvin Toonut on his Tri-Tech time trial is like he's attached to that blue and white velomobile. I have finally been lapped by the chase group. Diaguju on his Okra bike and Sandro Boliner on his Burr Comet are not far behind. Even LeBron on his Okra is still losing time. It is going to be hard for him not to be lapped. Marvin Toonut on his Tri-Tech time trial is still on the attack, but that does not seem to actually work very well. The riders in the chase group are weaker than him, one by one, but working together they can certainly catch up with him. Marvin Toonut on his Tri-Tech iRacer is being caught up. I'm actually stuck behind slower velomobiles on my Nocom Low Racer. Marvin Toonut on his Tri-Tech time trial has been caught back. Somehow Sandro Boliner on his Burr Comet has taken the lead, even though he's one lap behind like me. Even LeBron on his Okra bike was lapped and he's at the back of the group with me. Michael Hammond on his Burr Comet and Marvin Toonut on his Tri-Tech time trial are on the attack again. The chasing group led by Maker on his Carbon iRacer is not reacting. I'm staying quietly at the back of that group on my Nocom Low Racer. Marvin Toonut on his Tri-Tech time trial with Michael Hammond seems to be increasing his lead. Melker on his M5 Carbon iRacer is leading the chase, and I'm watching all the action at the back. I will have to attack soon from reasonably far away, as I don't want to have to sprint. So I am finally launching an attack. If ever they work together to catch me up, that will be trouble. Christophe Windless-Bauer in his Burr Peregrine Streamliner has won the race overall. Marvin Toonut on his Tri-Tech time trial has won the unfair classification. My attack is successful, and I am taking the fourth place of the unfair classification, 5 seconds ahead of my closest competitor. Melker on his M5 Carbon iRacer takes the third place. The final race is 3 hours plus 1 lap. Everybody, slow or fast, is in the same race. This time it is a rolling start, so it is less stressful. It is going to be much easier to keep track of my competitors at the start. All the 2 wheels recumbents are gathered around Marvin Toonut on his Tri-Tech time trial on the right side. It is important not to let any velomobile in between us before the actual start, as all velomobiles are not born equal, and nobody wants to be stuck behind a velomobile traffic jam. The opposite is also true for the fast velomobiles and the streamliners that don't want to be stuck behind unfair bikes. There are already big gaps at the start, even if it is a rolling start. The lap is 3.2 kilometers long, and it is reasonably fast. After the first lap, Johan Lehmann is leading the race in his snug velomobile. Somehow, Sandro Boliner on his Burr Comet recumbent bike is in the top 10. Finally, I'm here on my Nocom Low Racer right behind Marvin Toonut on his Tri-Tech time trial bike. All the other contenders for the unfair and partially fair classifications are here. Then, I am taking the wheel of James Coxon on his Phantom trike, and I am bringing all the other unfair and partially fair riders with me. James Coxon on his Phantom trike is as if he was the super domestic of one of the favorites. He is maintaining a 45 or 46 km/h pace, so nobody can attack. So James Coxon on his Phantom trike leads a group of unfair and partially fair riders for the best part of 1 hour and a half. I was sitting on his wheel most of the time, along with all the other contenders that kept all attacks at bay. It was probably the fastest start of a 3-hour race I have ever done. So either James Coxon is so strong he will be able to accelerate and pull away, or he will just burn out at some point. His pace is just the right one for me, so I definitely won't get dropped. Christophe Windless-Bauer in his Burr Peregrine Streamliner is lapping us again. James Coxon is complaining now that he wants me to lead, so I am taking the lead, but somehow he does not take my wheel. I really don't want to attack 1 hour and a half before the end of the race, so I make sure he comes back to me. So James Coxon on his phantom track is back on my wheel. There is actually a small gap with the rest of the group. Technically, if we were riding together properly, we would have a chance to pull away. Our bikes have the same aerodynamic profile, but James Coxon does not stick to my wheel, so I can't attempt a breakaway, and I'm not strong enough to get away from the group of contenders. If we were two working together, that would be possible. Now the favorite, Mervyn Tunut, on his Tritech time trial is taking the lead. For now, he is testing the water, but I can tell that he will attack anytime soon. Strangely, I feel like I'm getting less draft from him than from James Coxon on his phantom trike. Mervyn Tunut on his Tritech time trial is increasing the pace. He is joined by Michael Hammond on his yellow Berg Comet bike. We no longer have a good consistent pace as people are accelerating and slowing down. As everybody is watching each other, I find myself in the lead of the unfair classification again, and I'm not even attacking. When the group is constantly slowing down and accelerating, there is no point in staying in the group. Michael Hammond on his Berg Comet recumbent is taking the lead again, right ahead of me on my no-com low racer. Mervyn Tunut on his Tritech time trial is right behind me. Mervyn Tunut on his Tritech time trial is launching an attack. I am not sure I can follow him without going in the race, so I am staying with the group. I am hoping the group will chase him like in the 1 hour race, but nobody is doing anything. Mervyn Tunut attack is a success. Behind we have no pace, constantly slowing down and accelerating. Here, Riven LeBlanc on his custom Zokra bike has taken the lead of the group. It does appear we have settled for the second place, as we are not organized at all to chase Mervyn Tunut on his Tritech time trial bike. Mervyn Tunut's lead is growing. He is no longer in sight. Michael Hammond on his yellow Berg Comet is leading the chase. The chasing group is getting smaller and smaller as people get dropped. Mervyn Tunut on his Tritech iRacer is pulling another iRacer he has just lapped. It is well known that having a rider right behind you does actually make you go slightly faster. We are really not catching up with Mervyn Tunut. Mervyn Tunut on his Tritech time trial is still pulling away. On the chase group is still a mess as people keep on attacking. Christophe Ringlis-Bauer in his Berg Peregrine Streamliner will win the race overall. Unless there is an accident, Mervyn Tunut on his Tritech iRacer will win in the unfair competition. None of the attack in the chase group has been successful. James Coxon on his phantom track even managed to get back to the front of the group for a short time, even though he had been dropped. As for me, I am still in the running for the second place of the category, or am I? Oh my gosh, my rear wheel is slipping as if I was on ice, and I'm falling off my bike. Not sure what's on the track. I was probably too close to the side and there were S-stacks, so I lost all my chances for the race, and I am injured. I am wondering if this track is cursed, as I already fell off on this track 6 years ago. I'm still going to finish the race, as there is less than 10 or 15 minutes remaining. My brakes are rubbing, so I'm going at an underwhelming speed. Mervyn Tunut on his Tritech time trial is on the way to win the unfair competition. But the last challenge is not to be lapped by him, even though I lost a lot of time and I am still struggling. Ahead of me, the chasing group completely exploded. but I have missed all the fun. I have not been able to follow the race of the fastest streamliners on Velomobile, but from the look of it, it was more like a big time trial. It does look much harder for Velomobiles to ride in groups. Christophe Ringlis-Bauer in his Berg Peregrine Streamliner has just lapped Slash in the Beano Streamliner, their first and second of the race. And this is the last lap. That's going to be a struggle for me, as I'm going as slowly as riders I was overpowering 15 minutes before. Marvin Tunut on his Troytech time trial bike is starting his last lap. What's remaining of the chasing group is starting his last lap as well. And Christophe Ringlis-Bauer has won the race. He has split the chasing group. Those crossing the line right before him still have a lap to do. The others, like Rivan Leborg on his custom Zocra, are finished, which is very unfortunate. Marvin Tunut on his Troytech time trial wins that race in the unfair category, and also the competition in that category. Volker Niemeyer on his M5 Carbon iRacer won the sprint for the second place, ahead of Pierre Goujon on his Zocra iRacer. All in all, that was a good race and a good competition. And many thanks to the organizers and the other competitors. I wish I had not fallen off, but these things happen. Goodbye for now, and stay tuned for the next videos.